Good morning.
Good morning.
Can everybody hear me okay? I'm not using my lavalier today, so I will be speaking at my full voice. I'm Reverend Charlotte Arsenault, and I have the privilege of serving here as minister at Georgia Mountain GMUUC Church. And I'm in your pulpit this time for the first time as your settled minister. Thank you. For those of you who may be visiting for the first time, I also want to wish you a warm welcome. This is a special service in that this is our annual flower ceremony Sunday. So for those of you who haven't yet put your flowers forward, please do so now. For those of you visiting for the first time or those who may have forgotten your flowers, no worries. Our vases usually run over for that exact reason. Our flower communion is a GMUUC tradition that celebrates our human uniqueness and the gift of being in community. The flowers symbolize us, each beautiful and singular. The vases are our church, holding us but not defining us. Like the arrangements, here we come of our own free will and knowing we are made more lovely and our lives more enriched by our togetherness. Our worship theme this month is creation, and today we will be taking a whimsical journey through the meaning of life and how to create it for ourselves. Because nothing says whimsical like the ultimate question of life. As we enter into service this morning, know this. You are just where you should be. In this sacred space, where everyday matters cannot penetrate. Time stretches out and embraces us, but we are unperturbed. Come, there is much to explore together. Our chalice lighting today is by Andrew Pecula. Let there be light. The light of joy, the light of happiness, and the light of contentment. May it illuminate our paths and fill our lives with peace. And let there be dark, for it is from our dark places that we are brought forward, tried and tested, and impelled toward growth. It is in these places that we realize compassion and learn to love. And there was day, and there was night, and there was joy, and there was sorrow, and it was good. I invite you to please join me in the responsive reading. To be of use, number 567 in the back of the gray hymnal. I want to be with people who submerge in the task.
Who go into the fields to harvest and work and row and pass bags along.
Who stand in the line and haul in their places.
Who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out.
The work of the world is common as mud, botched. It smears the hands, crumbles to dust.
But the thing worth doing well done and the shape that satisfies we need and evidence.
Greek amphoras for wine or oil, hoppy vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used.
The pitcher tries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real.
Have any of you seen the bumper stickers around town that read, "Made for More," on the back of cars? Has anybody seen that? Oh, okay. Apparently they're from a local megachurch, and by local I mean in Georgia. But it appears to be a part of a larger movement in the Christian faith meant to inspire people to think more deeply about the purpose of their life. I, obviously being immune to mysterious marketing campaigns such as this, immediately began to spiral into a deep existential crisis, wondering what, if anything, I was made for. What is the meaning of our lives? Why are we here floating on this big blue boat with billions of other people who are also wondering why they're here. Who or what could provide us with the answers that we need? I decided I needed to do some pretty deep research for this important topic before presenting it to you today. I figured everyone usually starts in the highest places. So in a stroke of assumed genius, I asked my 5-year-old what the meaning of life was. She thought and thought before finally saying, "I don't know what you're talking about." I clarified it by saying, "Why are we alive?" She became quiet and appeared again to think deeply about an answer. I was convinced she was the tiny Buddha I needed, as her eyes began to shine and her answer would be inevitably insightful and profound. Several seconds later, she said very proudly, "Because we eat." Pragmatic response indeed. We are alive because we eat. But it didn't help me to come to any conclusions beyond the fact that I was overdue for lunch. So I turned my search to literature. Surely this subject is approached in many novels, poetry, self-help books, but I decided to look into something with a bit more grandeur than the typical piece of literature. In The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I found that the ultimate answer to life, the universe and everything, is 42. Yes, 42! Brilliant answer, I thought, as 42 is 101010 in binary code, and light refracts off water at 42 degrees to create a rainbow. But as soon as I began to feel content with the universal answer, I found that the author, Douglas Adams, admitted it was not but a farce. He said, it was a joke. It had to be a number, an ordinary, smallish number, and I chose that one. Binary representations, base 13, Tibetan monks are all complete nonsense. I sat at my desk, stared into the garden, and thought, 42 will do. I typed it out, end of story. Alas, wrong again. I went on in my search. Surely there must be answers amongst our world's religions. I soon found the meaning of life varied from faith to faith. I began my search with the newest religions. In Scientology, founded in 1954, I read that the meaning of life was tied to the goal of becoming an operating Thetan. Apparently this meant that I could reach a state in which I could create my own universe, move objects, and control people with my mind, and have no need for a body or a universe anymore. Sounds pretty cool to me, but it also sounds just like the plot of the movie Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which I just saw, so I decided to move on. In Mormonism, which began in 1830, the reason we are on Earth is to pass a test. Each difficulty we face, be it an illness, a trauma, or a loss, is a test by God to discern His, their gender assignment, not mine, purpose for us and to make Him proud. I've never been particularly good at taking tests, and I wondered about what kind of God would create cancer or AIDS as a test, so I took a pass. For Islam, which began in 620 CE, the meaning of life is ibadah, or to worship or please God through obedience. The Quran says, "In the creation of the heavens and the earth and the alternation of the night and the day, there are surely signs for all who are endowed with insight, who remember God when they stand and when they sit and when they lie down to sleep, and reflect on the creation of the heavens and the earth. O our Lord, you have not created this without meaning and purpose. Limitless are you in your glory." Lovely and inspiring language indeed, but I know I can't be the only one here who hears the word obedience and shudders. No thank you. On to Christianity, founded in, you guessed it, the 1st century of our common era. For insight into this faith's meaning of life, I returned to a likely source, megachurch pastor and author Rick Warren, who says, there are 5 reasons why people are on Earth. He was kind enough to share them with those of us who didn't get the memo. He says, we're here firstly for God's pleasure, then for God's family, and then to become like Christ, to serve God, and lastly, for a mission. The mission is apparently top secret, and I was not privy to the details. But in reading Reverend Warren's words, I just couldn't help feeling as though they led to more questions rather than illuminating the answers. Like, why would a God create life for its own entertainment? And what if you come to the end of your life and die and there is no God, so you've spent your life centered around pleasing something that isn't real? And then what if there is a God, but it doesn't actually care about what you do with your life? Or worse yet, there's a God, and it's like, no, you've got it all wrong. I actually wanted you to do the exact opposite, and you're paying attention to the wrong part of the book. I joke, of course, but seriously, even behaving in a Christ-like manner is complicated by the numerous times throughout Scripture that he didn't particularly behave in a Christ-like manner himself. On to Buddhism, then, which began in the 6th century BCE. In Buddhism, the meaning of life is simply to end suffering. We do this by ending the cycle of reincarnation through reaching enlightenment. This seems worthwhile, but according to some sects of Buddhism, it's reserved for only the most disciplined and monastic Buddhists. And as much as I can appreciate silence after an hour of my children screaming about not getting their way, monasticism simply is not my thing. Next. So what of Hinduism, which began in 2300 BCE? The purpose of life for Hindus is fourfold: to achieve dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Or to simplify these terms, acting virtuously, pursuing prosperity, obtaining enjoyment, and the final enlightenment, or it's ultimately unity with God. I read this and I felt like I was getting a little bit closer. Dharma, acting virtuously, seemed like a worthy goal of life. Pursuing prosperity, however, is questionable. I'd always been told that prosperity was more like icing on the cake. So fickle, it's not something you can be guaranteed no matter how hard you work in life. So to assume I could count on that for the meaning of life didn't make any sense. On to Judaism. Founded in 3500 BCE, just like in Christianity, there are many different sects, but for Reconstructionists and many others, the meaning of life is to embody Torah, the living word of the living God. In other words, it means to live out your belief. To obey God's commandments is to embody the Torah. I like the idea of living out your faith, but again with that obey word and that whole question of God. Enough of world religions. What of science, I asked. Michio Kaku, the theoretical physicist and author, says, beyond work and love, I would add 2 other ingredients that give meaning to life. First, to fulfill whatever talents we are born with. However blessed we are by fate with different abilities and strengths, we should try to develop them to the fullest, rather than to allow them to atrophy and decay. Second, we should try to leave the world a better place than when we entered it. As individuals, we can make a difference, whether it is to probe the secrets of nature, to clean up the environment, and work for peace and social justice, or to nurture the inquisitive, vibrant spirit of the young by being a mentor and a guide. I knew I could count on science for a quality answer. I was content to stop here, but thought I'd venture on, just for the fun of it. I wanted to know what our culture says is the purpose of our lives, so I turned on my TV. It only took me a few moments before finding the answer. Convenience and consumption were clearly the key to happiness, and happiness was obviously the ultimate meaning of life, according to our society. Happiness. Was there something to this? After all, it feels good to be happy. And shouldn't we strive to feel good as often as we can? Isn't feeling good worth working towards? The answer felt right, but in that way that seems to be because I've heard it so frequently. Surely the meaning of life isn't so capricious as happiness. If I liked the scientific answer to my question, living a life with purpose and leaving the world better than I found it, then how does happiness play into that? Are we confusing happiness with contentedness, with fulfillment, and with purpose? I decided I needed more confirmation on this, and so I went to my go-to source of wisdom, mommy blogs. You know, the online communities made for mothers where you ask things like, what is this weird rash? And how do you make your own organic gluten-free baby food? And is my child the next Einstein? The answer of which is always, of course. I found a surprisingly profound answer to my question of whether happiness was a worthy goal. The author of the article was Kathy Shalhoub. She writes, my ultimate objective as a parent is not to make my kids happy. It's to see them fulfilled. Happiness will be the occasional side effect. But happiness is a fickle thing, and seeking constant happiness is just as numbing as none at all. When I focus so intently on creating happy kids, I am implicitly teaching them that anytime they're not happy, life is bad. What I want for my kids is to experience love in both its waxing and waning phases. I want them to overcome challenges with intelligence and grace. I want them to adventure through their hearts and minds, uncovering more exquisite treasure within them at every turn. I want them to live in lifelong curiosity, to hunger for knowledge, to thirst for experience. I want them to be rooted in empathy and compassion for the world around them. I want them to be kind and generous, full of humanity. I want them to make a palpable difference in the lives they cross. I want them to want to make a palpable difference. I want them to believe in who they are and the power of their tiniest contributions. I want them to be confident. I want them to meet fear often and to find courage on occasion, because that means they're working outside constant comfort and security. I want them to explode with ideas and creativity, to explore, to experiment with whatever they can get their hands and minds on. I want them to take risks, to fall, to fail, and to learn what it is to stand up again with scrapes on their knees and scars on their hearts. I want them to believe in the healing power of again or next time. I want my kids to be secure enough in themselves to go hunting when they're hungry and to be big enough to share the catch when they make it. I want all these things for my kids, and most of them don't come with the irrationality and flightiness of happiness. Well, I'll be darned if my mommy blog didn't pull through again. It may have been speaking about children, but the goals she outlines are absolutely universal. They apply no matter our ages. While there was a lot of great ideals in her piece, the overall theme seemed to be purpose. To not give up until you learn what your purpose is, and then to have the courage to live it out in this world unapologetically. So by that point in my journey of discovery, I'd covered family responses, literature, a fair amount of the most predominant world religions, as well as our culture. So what was left? Yes, Unitarian Universalism. I was nervous when researching this last bit. Would it line up with the thoughtful reflection from Kathy Shalhoub? Would it make as much sense as Kaku's answer? Had I invested my life's work into an institution that would let me down on the question that mattered most in this world? This is where any good television show would cut to commercial, so I'll just sip a bit of water right now and let you spit it out. Well, all was well once I came across a passage from Universalist preacher John Murray. Historically, this passage is actually attributed to Murray, but it was really written by one of his biographers, Alfred S. Cole. It reads, "Go out into the highways and the byways. Give people something of your new vision. You may possess a small light, but uncover it. Let it shine. Use it to bring more light and understanding to the hearts and minds of men and women. Give them not hell, but hope and courage. Preach the kindness and everlasting love of God." Now, whether you believe in the kindness and everlasting love of God, there is certainly something to be considered here. Let your light shine. Bring more light to others. Give them hope and courage. Yes, this feels like a worthy way to spend a lifetime. It reeks of purpose. And so 3 crucial pieces of my identity finally merged: the rational scientific side, the religious and spiritual side, and the mommy side, to provide me with my own meaning of life. Find my purpose. Live it out. Be of use. Give people hope. Do good in this world, and maybe then I will be happy. This is where my journey ends. I know, as epic as Gilgamesh. But what has been your journey of discovery? And what, if anything, is your answer to the ultimate question? And sorry if I burst your bubble about the whole number 42 thing. Amen. As we prepare to sing our closing hymn today, I invite you to come forward during the song and choose a flower that differs from the one you brought. For those who prefer, you may choose to get your flower afterwards. Please join me in body or in spirit as we sing our closing hymn, number 311, Let It Be a Dance in Your Great Room. Emerson's famous quote is, "The purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you lived and lived well. There is much living left to do. What difference will you make in your time?"